All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're just going to be doing just a really high level walkthrough of my home studio, how I record bass, how I record guitar. In the last video, we did sort of a walkthrough on my pedalboard, which is designed for guitar and bass specifically. The pedalboard is sort of built around the HX Stomp. So if you haven't checked out that video, go ahead and watch it if it's something that's interesting to you. In today's video, I'm just going to be showing you how I record stuff. Just so you know, this is going to be a very high level video. We're not going to go into super deep depth about the plugins that I'm using and all of that, but just figured that maybe there might be some interest here. So I'm trying out the studio content here on the channel. So if you find that there's any interest, leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear if you want to see more of that. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and we appreciate you being here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go through from a high level. You know, yesterday was the source. Today we're going to be covering everything after the source. Back in the day, I've tried all sorts of different studio equipment. I've worked with bass amps, outboard gear. At one point, I'd even bought a Tascam analog console because I wanted to try that thing out. And what I found was over all of that time spent with gear, while it was very educational, I think I just spent a lot of time that ended up complicating the process. And so everything that you're about to see in the studio walkthrough, it's not going to be very flashy. In fact, it's very simple. And really the goal of that is to show that you don't need a lot of gear to get great results. I do believe in investing in high quality gear. There's a phrase that I've heard, says buy nice or buy twice. And I think that there's an element to that. But I also think that how well you understand your gear, how well you know it, and when you limit sort of what you have to your disposal, it forces you to be a little bit more creative, and the less time you stay stuck in optionitis. And if you have questions, always feel free to email me, shoot a comment down below. Hit like and subscribe if you want more. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead and hop right in. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about today is what is this desk? Very simply put, this is the workstation in which all the work gets done. This is just really an Ikea countertop slab. It's like the walnut version. Literally went to my Ikea location and bought it. And what a lot of people do is they'll chop it up, put it in their kitchen. For me, I thought it just looked very nice as a desk. I saw some other people doing that and decided to go that route. On the bottom part here is, I forget the name of the brand offhand, but I'll put a link in the description if you want to purchase it. But it's just the ergonomic legs. I literally just screwed them to the bottom of the countertop so I can do a standing desk if I want to, which is really great when you're playing bass and guitar, because then you can kind of jam out and rock out without having to sit in a chair. So that's sort of a nice feature to have. So that is sort of the desk. There's other things like a riser and those things as well. Moving on from the desk, let's talk about the computer. Now, for years and years and years, I was really just using a 2014 MacBook Pro. I'm pretty sure there were some issues with it too. I bought it secondhand off of like the black market, so I didn't buy it from Apple. I bought it from some guy on Craigslist. And you know what? To be honest with you, it worked very well. Over time, it just got older. I couldn't update to the latest version of some of my favorite plugins and DAWs. And so what I ended up doing more recently is I've finally updated into the silicone technology. I'm using a MacBook Pro with the M4 technology, and have really been loving that ever since. My computer's not, going into a frenzy with fans anymore. And then, of course, wanting to kind of get more into the video side of things with the YouTube channel becomes a really great editing platform. So that's the computer that I'm using there. Moving on to what is the audio interface that I'm using. I've used a few different audio interfaces over the years. And the thing is with digital audio interfaces, the converters are so great. I believe personally that you can get away with anything, whether it be a Focusrite or even the Behringer interfaces are just fine. But what I started going with and working with are the Apollo series interfaces from Universal Audio. I'm running an Apollo Twin. I think it's the dual core. It's just a simple 2-channel interface. I find that's really all I need. I'm usually recording a vocal, stereo guitars, or 2 lines of bass, and so there's nothing really that complex that I'm trying to do. It comes with a software called Console, and in that Console software, I can plug in unique plugins that are ran by the DSP within the interface, and so it's not taxing on my computer, and it uses a technology that in real time converts the signal in a way that emulates some of the best hardware units. API mic pre's, Neve mic pre's, and compressors that I get to just plug in on an insert and then record through those. And so it's a really great way to be able to commit a sound. Moving on, there's a lot of conversation out there like, what is the best DAW? You know, you see some people really say Pro Tools is the industry standard, that's what we gotta have. Some people like Logic or Ableton. You'll see behind me here, I'm actually recording in Ableton. That's a software I've used for years, you know, on and off. I'm really just using it for this because I'm trying to get back into Ableton and learn it. But the main DAW that I'm using is Logic Pro X, and I'm using the most current version, 12. I'm just a producer type of person. I like to play with sounds and, you know, create new melodies, write parts. In some of my prior bands, you know, I kind of played a writing role. And so being able to have multiple sounds built for creativity in that way is really helpful. So Logic was just something that immediately captured my attention there. And I've been using it ever since. Just below my riser here, I have an Akai Mini. It's like the MK MIDI controller. I use that for keyboard sounds, automation, controlling a plug-in parameter, or the pads for the drums. I find that it's just a nice little utility knife that sits away until I need it. And then when I do, it's always plugged in, it's bus powered, so I just pull it out and then I can just start creating with it. For microphones, I'm not going to go too depth into that because as you saw in the last video, most of what I'm doing is pretty much fully digital. Right now, I'm really only using one microphone. This is a Shure SM57. This is an industry standard mic. It's one of the most recorded mics in history, especially for drums and guitar cabinets. They're under $100. They're indestructible. I think they sound great. No studio is complete without maybe at least a couple of them. This is really the only mic that I'm using, and really only the mic that I think that I need. The YouTube stuff I'm kind of ramping up a little bit, so I might look at another mic in the future, but for now, the SM57 is really getting the job done. Thank you for tuning in. That's my studio setup. Again, like I said, it's very minimal. There's not a lot going on. There's a couple of nicer pieces of gear, but you know, I find that if you just invest in the fundamentals, like you have a good computer that can handle the production work that you're doing, and you have a good interface, then that's really all you need. Other than that, recording really just comes down to the source material. Like, does your bass or your guitar sound good? Is it in tune? How's the amp? How's the mic placement? And if things are good at the source and you have material or music that resonates at like an emotional level with people, I think you're always going to win on the recording side. You know, there's a great quote that I heard from a producer named Gabriel Wilson, and he says that great songs record themselves. I think of some of the greatest songs ever in history, and then you might go ahead and look behind the scenes to see how they were recorded. Oftentimes it's a one-time take, and sometimes it's just an acoustic guitar. The recording environment might not have been as elaborate as one might think. So the goal here is always to be creative and to eliminate as much space as possible between your creativity and how it gets out in front of people. And as long as you commit to that, you're always going to be golden. You're always going to hopefully be creating great material. Until next time, really appreciate you checking out the video. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. You know where to reach me. Take care.